Welcome, Jared. Jared, super excited to talk to you. Thanks for reaching out to me on social media. You've been a longtime viewer of the YouTube channel and attribute a lot of the deals you're doing, the success you're having to the things that you learn specifically on market, which I'm really excited to talk to you about. And just to kind of set the stage, everybody, Jared's done, I think he's working on deal number 9 or 10 since he got started. He's got some closings going on like as we speak this week. And these are primarily, except I think one, this is mostly all on market wholesale deals, which is a lot of fun. That's something that I really like to teach about. And so Jared, thank you for joining us. How are you doing?
Good, man. Thank you for having me. I'm doing really well.
Great. And what market are you doing these deals in?
So all of them so far have been in Richmond, Virginia.
Richmond, Virginia. Yeah. You reached out to me because I've got a deal we're working on right now in near Virginia Beach.
Yeah, I did. I started doing stuff out there. I haven't closed one out there yet, but I have a bunch of guys looking for deals out there. I just haven't found something for them yet.
Yeah, this one I've got to actually Portsmouth.
Yeah, I saw. Yeah, I have a guy he's been flipping for 15 years, and he's got a lot of. I think he's 150 plus under his belt, and he told me basically if I can bring him something with good margins, he'll buy it. So I saw that, and I was like, I wonder if I can do a deal with Jerry. That'd be pretty awesome.
Yeah, I'll reach out to you about it later.
Yeah, cool.
But okay, so this is Richmond, Virginia, and where are you from?
I'm from PA. I still live there right now. Okay. I'm Northeast PA, out in the country. If anybody in here is from PA, Scranton is 45 minutes or so away from me. Yeah.
Great. So you're doing this virtually then in Virginia?
Yep, all of it.
Okay. Now, any of these, have you seen in person any of these properties?
No.
Isn't that beautiful? Oh, that's beautiful.
So awesome, dude.
So you're wholesaling houses you've never seen before. Man, what a business model where you can work from anywhere. You don't have to go out to these properties and you can do real estate deals, never seen these properties in person. I can't tell you how much time you spend when you actually go out to properties. It just takes up so much time and energy. People don't even realize it until they do a deal virtual and they don't go see the property, just how time consuming that is. So that's really fun. All right. So you haven't seen any of these deals and these are on market. So explain how you're doing this. So you chose this Richmond, Virginia market. Was there a particular reason why you chose that to be your remote market?
So honestly, man, when I first started watching your YouTube channel, I was like, I had a lot of free time on my hands. And so I was like, I'm just going to start kind of messing around in different markets and see how it goes. Yeah. Honestly, there's not really a reason I chose Richmond over other markets. It just, for one reason or another, I think I saw on somebody's channel that it's a pretty good market. You know, at the time it had a lot of stuff going on in it. And I was just like, you know, I'll do stuff out here and see how it goes. And
now, when you first started, you know, like everybody, you kind of enter into the education stage where you start learning, trying to gain skill set. How long was that process for you before you said, okay, I'm ready to start taking action. I'm ready to start picking up the phone and making offers. What was that time frame like for you?
So I started watching your channel. The first wholesale thing I ever came across was your channel, and my fiance and I watched it and got kind of hooked. And we probably watched like over 100 videos over the course of like 3 weeks or so, maybe on and off every single night. Like, yeah, exactly. Yep. Taking notes and stuff. Like I had a whole notebook somewhere on me filled with notes of it. And I would say that probably went on for like 2 to 3 weeks before I really felt confident enough to pick up the phone.
Okay. So 2 to 3 weeks, which is pretty quick, which is amazing. I mean, that's awesome. And I'm sure you heard me say this in the videos, but you know, nothing in this business happens until you're willing to pick up that phone and actually put like a number in front of somebody. The minute you get to that stage where you're putting offers in front of people, either agents or sellers, then that's when you're going to actually progress and lead to a deal, right? Like no deals happen until you pick up that phone. And so that's what you did. You started to take that action. So that's pretty cool. 3 weeks or so. And then you started picking up the phone and calling. And what was that process like? You're doing on market, right? So you're calling agents now, right?
Yep.
What was that like at first?
It was scary, man. It was funny because my fiance was in the room with me a lot of the time, and she would say like, "You sound like so confident, like you know what you're doing." I'm like, I'm literally just replicating and like copy and pasting verbally what I hear from like Jerry or whoever else. I had no idea what I was doing, dude. It was horrifying. It was like it's like you talk about you talk to these professionals who are like, it's intimidating, man. At first, I was intimidated, and I'm an athlete. I was an athlete for a long time, and so that stuff doesn't. I don't usually get nerves, but I had nerves, man. Calling agents, it scared me, but it's all reps. Like once at 5, 10 calls in, it was like, okay, I'm starting to pick up on, what they respond to well and what they don't respond to well and stuff
Mhm.
like that. So it's just a learning process.
Yeah. How did you handle that rejection? I mean, you said you were an athlete, so you're probably used to like putting in the work. A lot of people really, it's so intimidating, and then they start getting those no's, no, 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 or the agent starts telling you, man, your number's so unrealistic, it's so far off. And then a lot of people, they start to feel that negativity from all that rejection, and then they don't see it through, right? They don't keep going, and they kind of like fizzle out or give up. How did you overcome that, all the no's, to keep going?
Honestly, it was the motivation of just not taking no for an answer. Like, so I got into wholesaling because, and what led me to your channel was my fiance wanted to own rental properties, and we were working a 9 to 5, and we hated it, dude. It was like miserable. It was, we worked at an aluminum manufacturing plant, and I was just like, I cannot keep doing this. Like, I don't want to do this. And so it was more like, I know based on what I heard you talk about and stuff, I knew that it wasn't going to be quick, or it wasn't going to be like, I make an offer and they're like, okay, we'll take it. I knew
Mhm.
it was going to take a long time to get something. And I was just willing to put in the reps and like you said, kind of handle that rejection. And I
And
do
how
think that
long?
the motivation was what helped me with that.
That's awesome. Yeah. When you have that why, that big why, it pushes you through. And the more
That's
you
what it
can
is.
define that why and really understand, what you're trying to accomplish and your big goal, then it kind of, I mean, it definitely makes it so that you can push through the rejection. So you start calling, making offers. How long did it take to get that first deal?
Oh my gosh, dude. So to be 100% transparent, it was I'm super I can be wishy-washy, man. That's like a big weakness of mine. So I started making calls on market. I probably did that I started right around Thanksgiving of 2020. And so it was late November. And I probably called agents every single day. I had a notebook where I would go onto the market because I worked overnight. So I would be up late. I would look at properties on Zillow, write them all down, comp them and stuff, and then I would call them the next morning. I probably did that for 2 months. I got a handful of contracts because I was just locking stuff up way too
Yeah.
high, and I had to cancel all of them. And it was like, it's discouraging at
Yeah.
first, but so then I started trying to cold call sellers and stuff, but I went back to doing on market
Okay.
stuff, and it was just back and forth for a long time. And it took about 6 months. I think I closed my
Okay.
first one in May. Yeah. Or no, I got my first contract in May, and late May, and I closed it early July because it got
Of
pushed off like a week or two.
2021 now, May
2021.
2021. Okay.
Yep, that's
So
right.
so you got that first contract, and let's walk through that one. So
Yeah.
you on market, so you call, did you do the double dip strategy with the listing agent?
Yeah. Are you talking about for the first one I closed?
Yeah, the first one. Yeah, the first one you closed. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. So I
Okay.
tried to do the double dip, and they
Yeah.
told me, they don't want to they didn't do dual representation, and so they referred
Okay.
me, yeah, so they referred me to a different agent.
In the
And
same
I put the
office?
offer in. Yeah, I don't remember. I think it was
Probably
one of their
was.
like, yeah, more than likely. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's called designated
Yep.
agency when another agent in the same office represents
Yep.
you. So guys, real quickly here, if you're not familiar with the double dip strategy, the idea here is the listing agent representing the seller sometimes can also be the buyer's agent, called dual agency. Some states don't allow it, which it happens anyway, trust me. And some brokerages don't do dual agency just because they don't want to have a conflict of interest. Your next best thing is designated agency. So when the agent says, look, I don't want to represent you, I represent the seller, and I don't want to be representing both, there's a couple things they can do. They could switch to a transaction coordinator where they kind of take a neutral position and they just bring the two parties together, put the deal together. Some sellers are fine with that. Some are like, no, I want you to represent me. Some agents like it, some don't. The other thing that they could do is, like I just said, designated agency. And what they do then is that agent will go to another agent in their office and they'll say, hey, I've got a buyer interested in making an offer. Can you represent them? What most people don't realize is happening though, is that agent that referred the buyer's agent is probably getting a referral fee. And so that's still a competitive advantage because you're going to the listing agent sending you to a buyer's agent in the same office. He's getting a piece of that through a referral. And so it's still creating that competitive advantage. The whole point is we're trying to separate ourselves from all the other offers and have a leg up, right? We want to get to the top of the pile with our offer. So any of those strategies are super powerful. The last thing you want to do is have a buyer's agent representing you going to that listing agent, because now you're no different than any other offer out there and you don't have any kind of competitive advantage. So just kind of quick overview on that if you're unfamiliar. So in this case, it was probably designated agent. That buyer's agent now from the office helped you write and submit your offer, correct?
Yep.
Gotcha. And what was the numbers? What was it listed for and what did you offer?
So this one was unique, man. It was listed for 115, I believe.
Okay.
And so it was listed for 115. We put in an offer originally for, I believe, 113 because it was like a super hot deal.
Good
and
deal.
I ran the, yeah, yep. And so it was, they declined it at first and they took another offer. And I told them, hey, keep my offer as a backup offer because I think the other offer was like 130. And I was like, I looked at the numbers and I was like, I don't know. So they called me back in like a week and they were like, hey, that other offer fell through. Are you guys still interested? And I was like, absolutely. So we had it. And I think we ended up landing around 114 after they tried to get us to go to list price. And we were like, let's just meet in the middle at 114. And so, yeah, that's what we got it for. And I can go into what we sold it for if you need, or
yeah. Okay. So you get it for 114, which is not much off of list price, which sometimes that's good. Sometimes that makes it more difficult. Obviously you got your deal wholesaled, so it was fine. But you know, a lot of times one or two things happen. I find that it's either listed really aggressively, meaning it's priced really good, like in your case. And sometimes they're just way off and the number is not even close. And now you're coming in with this crazy lowball offer. My attitude about it, as you know, because I know you know, my attitude is don't worry about what the list price is. Just crunch your numbers and make your offer. And don't ever assume that they'll say no. Just put the offer in front of them and see what happens. And I've won big time that way. I mean, I've gotten deals $100,000 below list price. You know, so it works, not like you wish it would, but it works. And just take the bias out of it. Don't ever assume whatever they're telling you is true. Just put the offer in front of them. So you got it for 114. And how long until you had a closing? 30 days?
Yeah, it was supposed to be 30 days, but the seller had a title issue that they had to work through. So I think it got pushed off a week or so, a week and a half. Yeah. So I think it was about a 5.5 week.
Okay. So about 5 weeks closing and you get the contract. Now, now you got to find your buyer, right? So keep this in mind, everybody. The agent, whether you have a buyer's agent or you're direct with a listing agent, they're going to handle writing that offer. They're going to use their contract, state approved contract. They're going to write that offer. And now you're secured with your contract with your seller. But now they're out of the way, right? They've done their job. They're the agent that's supposed to get that contract. And then now it's up to you to go find your cash buyer. And it's up to you to handle assigning that contract to your new buyer. So what did you do, Jared? How did you find your cash buyer?
So what I did was similar to what you teach. I went on to Zillow and I was looking at sold properties and called the agents up. Now it was funny. So I called the one guy and I was like, you know, hey, I saw that you sold the property nearby at, you know, whatever address, you know, and I have a property right around the same area and the same price point. I wanted to see if you have, you know, any buyers that are interested, or if that guy that you sold that property for is interested.
Yeah.
And he was like, no, you know what though? What's the address? I might buy it myself. And so I checked this out, right? I gave him the address and he was like, I made an offer on that house. How'd you get that? And I was like, I don't know, I just put in a backup offer, dude. And he was like, he actually initially bid more than I did, but asked to be a backup offer. So when they
Yeah.
accepted that other offer, he just went his separate way,
Yeah.
you know, and then I called him with it and he was like, you ended up getting this? And I was like, yeah, like, he bought it for 130.
130. Oh my gosh, this is so cool. So I hope you guys caught that, right? He missed out because they went with the other offer. He offered more than you, way more than you. But because you told that agent, hey, keep me as a backup offer, there's another thing I know happened here. He probably represented himself. He probably made an offer outside of the office now as just another buyer's agent. Yeah. So when that thing fell apart, think about the agent. You got an in-house thing going on here, designated agency. You got a listing agent, you got a buyer's agent in the same office. They want to win. They want to work together. Deal falls through. You think they're calling those other offers that they got from other buyer's agents? Heck no. They're calling you because you created a competitive advantage. And so they call you, you get the deal, and that guy missed out. Now, what's cool is he doesn't care that you got it. He doesn't care that you got it for 114. All he cared about was his number, which in this case was 130. And you got it at 114. He just wants a deal that fits his numbers, and that deal fit his numbers.
Yep,
okay,
100%.
So he had no issue that it was on market. He had no issue that you had the deal, and clearly had no issue that you're making what, $16,000 as a wholesale.
Yep.
Right. So guys, that is how powerful this can be. Now, it could have turned out differently. He could have said, oh, well, you know, I could have got that, and I don't like on market, and I'm not buying it from blah, blah, blah. But you just got to keep finding the right buyers that don't care about any of that. They just want a deal that fits their numbers, which is exactly
100%.
what you did. Okay. So then he steps in, and then you just did you just do a straight assignment to him then and closed and walked out with your check?
No. So I actually did a double escrow.
Okay.
Like, yeah. I'm trying to stay as much away from assignments as I can because of all the scrutiny and stuff. So I found a title company that, I found a title company that does double escrows. I don't have to get transactional funding or anything. So the buyer's money pays for it. And I just did a double escrow. I had to pay some closing costs, but to me, it's worth it, you know, just to avoid any headaches or anything like that, especially. So in Virginia, I don't know if anybody here is in Virginia. I don't know about all of Virginia, but in the Central Virginia MLS contract, it says that you have to disclose to the seller that you're assigning it as well. And I didn't want to go through that headache, you know, so I just double escrowed it.
Okay. So let's talk about this, everybody. What he means by double escrow, or what I call this is double closing in escrow. So did you use the funds from the cash buyer to fund the first closing? Yeah. Okay. So here's what happens. Not all title companies will do this. In fact, it's actually difficult to get done. So it's amazing that you did this. More and more title companies are moving away from this, but if you can find a title company that will do it, basically what they do is they line up closing one, which was seller to Jared. And then at the same time, they line up closing number two, which is Jared, now seller, to cash buyer. Everybody signs an escrow for both closings, but then they take the funds from the second closing, which is the cash buyer, and they take his funds and they basically disperse those funds between the two closings, which means Jared doesn't have to bring the money to the first closing. They use the money from the second closing to fund the first closing. Sounds kind of complicated. If the title company will do that, then it's amazing because like Jared said, you don't have to use transactional funding and bring that money to the first closing. Now you still pay closing fees because you're actually doing two closings. So Jared had to pay fees first as the buyer and then second as the seller. But whatever those are, call it $1,000, $1,500, whatever they are. Sometimes it's worth it to not disclose what you're making, and now nobody knows because it's two separate closings. So I hope that makes sense, guys. If it doesn't, I'll put a link to a video explaining how to do a double closing in escrow. Also, guys, those of you watching this, if you are trying to move away from the assignment, which I kind of am too, we actually have a program where we'll handle your transactional funding. It's really cool. We'll do the first one for free, and then we lock you in, I think, at one point, thereafter. Just go to usejerryscash.com to register for training and learn all about that program. The reason why I'm doing that is because I think double closings are going to become more and more necessary and even mandatory if regulation keeps happening like it is. So I'm kind of anticipating that and want to have a program for my students to be able to double close. But Jared, that's really cool that you were able to do that. I mean, I
was
would
lucky.
I would lock in on that title company and like that's your go-to, you know, because
I've done all my closings there.
perfect. Yeah, perfect. So really awesome. Okay. So that deal was what did it net? You know, probably what, around 14, 15 then after closing fees, somewhere in that area.
Yeah, right around 14.
Yeah.
But I had a partner on it that I was, so when
Okay.
I first got into the market, I had a guy that was doing boots on the ground stuff to take pictures and stuff like that, or meet the agents and the buyers at the property. And so I split it with him half and half. So I netted 6.5, I think, or something like that. It was
Okay.
right around 14 though, net for both of us.
Okay. So then you do that first deal, clearly proof of concept, most exciting day, right, of your career. I mean,
Yep.
right. Cause now you're like, wow, look at this. It works. One thing I
Yep.
want to point out here is part of what makes OnMarket so appealing and so amazing is the zero marketing aspect, right? Like you're not spending $3,000 to $5,000, which is the average industry rate for off-market contracts. You prove that concept, and now you go out and now you've continued to do more on-market deals. Has the process been pretty similar? Are you now just got your searches set up? You're talking to as many agents, making as many offers. What's your basically your strategy look like now to continue doing these on-market wholesales?
Yeah, for sure. Actually, so one thing I've been doing that is a little bit different, and honestly, you mentioned earlier, it's not ideal, but it's worked for whatever reason, one way or another, is so I do a lot of agent outreach. So I'll go on to, Zillow or something like that, and I'll text agents or call them, and I'll ask for like pocket listings also. You've gone over that a little bit. And another thing is some of the agents that I've closed deals with, they'll send me stuff, that's hasn't hit the
Off market.
market yet, or yep,
Yeah.
exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's weird because I've had agents that send me a deal, as like them wanting to be a buyer's agent for me with a different listing agent, and just out of like moral like ethics, I don't, if they send me the deal, I don't want to go around them and go straight to the listing agent. So sometimes I have them write the offer for me, and those have turned into deals too, even though it doesn't really give me a competitive advantage. I'm not really sure why. I'm not really sure. I don't know if I'm just getting lucky on those ones or what. But yeah, it's I do a lot of outreach, and so I've gotten some off-market deals. I haven't closed any off-market deals yet, but I do get a lot of them sent to me. And a lot of the times, though, they're like you said, they're just asking for really high price points that don't make sense. And then, if they have it coming to market and I tell them like, they want 200 for it, I'm down at 150 or 140. They're like, oh, I'll just stick it on the market. And then someone either overpays for it or I go back to them, after the fact if it doesn't sell.
Yeah, you bring up a really great point. With on market, it's all about that relationship, right? So what's great is now, like as you close deals, you've proven not only yourself, but you've proven to the agent that you perform.
Yes.
And when an agent sees you perform, you're now their go-to person. So what's amazing is as you start to do more deals, you start to create those relationships with agents. Next month, when they pick up a new listing, they're going to be calling you. Sometimes they're going to call you before they list it, and you can do a pocket listing. And so those relationships turn into gold, and they're extremely valuable. I've got some agents now where we've done dozens of deals, and they just call me every time they get a new distressed property. They call me, hey, Jerry, got another one, take a look at it. And that's where you really want to arrive. To me, that is the most valuable part of on market, is the ongoing referral business that agents will bring you. And that's different than private sellers, 100% different, because private sellers, it's one and done, right? Like you're going to do that deal with that private seller and probably never again. Agents, no, you might end up doing multiple deals a year with the same agents. So that's huge. So I love that.
Sure.
So awesome. So you said that you've closed, I think you said what was it? 7 or 8 now you've closed?
7 as of yesterday.
7 as of yesterday. Yeah. And what's that total? Do you know off the top of your head, what's that total profits you've made so far on those 7?
So after yesterday, $62,300. Keep in mind,
62,000.
So
Woo!
keep in mind though, that the first 3 deals I did, I have a whiteboard. That's why I keep looking over there. The first
Yeah.
3 deals I did were with a guy I was splitting half and half. So I think the total number is around 89,000 if
Yeah.
like total before
Yeah.
splitting it
Yeah. Gross wholesale fee. Okay. But now you're doing them all, you're doing it on your own. So
on my own now.
you're getting it on your own now. And you mentioned before the recording, you've got some good ones on the books right now. What's that look like? What do you
Yeah,
got on the
so I
books?
have one. Yeah, I have one closing tomorrow that's for 7,500 bucks. Now that's a
Okay.
straight assignment. That's not a double close.
Okay.
Um, yeah, that one I'm just assigning because the seller's cool with it and we talked
Yep.
with them about it. And then there's another one. So I'm supposed to close one today. I have to check in. It's supposed to close in like an hour or so. That one's not great. So that one, it looked like a really good deal. I mean, when you talk about, you made a video one time where you were like looking at stuff on the market, and there was one, and you were like, oh, this one's like screaming, like pick me, because it's like so bad.
Yeah.
And it was one like that. And so I locked it up, and I had an agent that I'm really good friends with. He's a really high level agent. And he told me, he went out and looked at it and was like, hey man, this thing has a really bad foundation problem. And I was like, so that kind of screwed the numbers up. And somehow I put it out to the guys that I know are consistent buyers.
Yeah.
And that one I'm gonna get 5K on that one. But that was, I don't know where that guy, I think he might be doing some of the work himself. Because it's not, I think so he's buying that for 90, and the ARV is right around 330, but it needs like 150 in work. It's bad.
Yeah.
Like borderline tear down. And because there's a lot of new builds going on in that area, which
Yeah.
I know you're familiar with.
Yeah.
So there's that one. That one's for 5. Tomorrow is for 75, so that's 12.5. And then I have one. It was supposed to close this Friday, but there's like the buyer needs an extra couple days, so that's going to close next week for 10 grand. So that's
Okay.
22.5. Yep,
Yeah. So you got some good ones on the books here. That's
not
awesome.
bad. Yeah, not bad.
Yeah. And you're building your cash buyer list, but are you still following that strategy I teach where you go find the flippers in the market that are in the neighborhood and then reach out to them?
Yeah, yeah. So I was doing that, and I still am a little bit. I got into a really interesting situation where I had a buyer that closed on. It was a package deal of 2 on-market properties that I sold them. This is back in September, I think. And so I knew he likes package deals, and the one that I sold yesterday was a package deal. And so I started working more closely with him and kind of giving him like first dibs at my deals, like, if I know it's something that he would like. And so he told me straight up, like, hey man, if you get a wholesale deal, I'll go check it out before you even, like, I'll give you a buy price before you even lock it up if you want, so that I can work my numbers back. And it was risky, because
Yeah.
he could have easily gone around me, but I just try to have a positive mindset. And so I was like, I'll see where this goes. And it's easier for me now because instead of, having to market it to, 20 different buyers with 20 different formulas or whatever, I talk to one guy that's like, hey, here's my buy price. And I just negotiate, 10, 15, 20K off of that.
Yeah, so that's really cool. One of the things I've been talking about, I don't know, I'm not sure if you saw the interview video I did with Richard Taylor, who's done some on markets, but what I said on that interview with him was, building these relationships with your cash buyers is going to be really important. And so think about it from the cash buyer's perspective. He wants to make sure that you're able to bring him deals that fit what he's looking for. So he's willing to let you do all of the work to generate leads. And when you get a lead that's a warm seller, he's willing to go out, look at that property, tell you exactly what his number is, and then doesn't care that you go lock it up for less than that number and make a fee, because he's just thinking about making sure his deal flow continues, making sure that you're bringing him deals that meet what he wants. It's saving him a lot of time because now he's not going back to you and saying, hey, you know what, I really need it at this number, or you didn't think about this. And so he's streamlining the process for you, and he's happy to do it because, again, this is the part that a lot of people don't think about or understand. Flippers and buy and hold investors, they don't want to do lead gen. They want to do their buy and hold thing. They want to do their rehab thing. They hate talking to sellers. They hate making offers. They hate all of that work, time and energy and effort, the cost. They don't want any of that. They just want people to bring them deals and hand them in their lap. So by you working out that arrangement, there is some risk there. So you want to make sure that you keep that relationship close. I would probably still make sure that, he's not in direct contact with maybe the seller. There's some things you could probably do to bridge that gap just to be safe. But again, it's all about that relationship. If he's going to screw you, he's going to screw you, and nothing's going to stop him. That's people, there's ways to kind of like avoid getting, I call it backdoored, where the seller or the cash buyer backdoor you, the wholesaler. But that's going to happen. If it hasn't, it's going to at some point. That sucks when it does, but you can't live your life in fear. You've got to start building those relationships, and hopefully you can create strategic relationships with cash buyers that are good, honest people. And then now you're in a really good win-win situation like you've created.
That's what it is. That's all it is, dude. It's all relationships. Like I had that cash buyer, he even, I mean, you are like the prime example of using wholesaling to escalate yourself into other ventures.
Yeah.
I want to follow that same path. I want to start doing flips, and like I told you before, getting into buying rental properties and stuff like that. And this buyer that I was just mentioning, he works for a custom home builder, and he does the rehabs for his flips mostly himself. And so he even told me like, hey dude, because we have a close relationship, me and that guy. And so after him closing on so many deals, and so I told him like, I want to get into doing my own flips as well. And he was like, I'll tell you what, any deals that you're flipping that you don't sell me, I'll do the rehabs on them for you. It's all relationships. Like it's all just creating. Yeah, that's all it is.
The other thing you could do when you're ready is you could say, hey, so I figured out how to get the acquisition on this property figured out. Why don't we partner? You put in the rehab money and rehab it, keep the cost down, and we can partner and split. Like there's just so many different ways you could go as you start to transition. And I highly recommend that everybody look at wholesaling as a way to step into, right? Propel yourself into other ways of doing real estate deals and making money, because it just opens the door for so many more options and opportunities and possibilities. Love that.
Yep.
Well, good. Well, that's exciting, Jared. Hey, everybody, leave a comment and say, Jared, you are a flipping genius for all of your success, and continue to be involved and share with me, your progress and how you're doing in the deals. I want to make sure I follow your journey and be a part of that, and excited for you. Thank you for, watching my channel and for taking that information and applying it and using it. It's meaningless until you actually apply it and do it and use it. Continue on that path of self-education and self-development, right? And it'll be amazing where you go. And I'm just so excited for that. So again, Jared, you're a flipping genius.